has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
If you look at the level of disruption, it is massive. The NCA has issued statements, the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications have issued statements, and all the telcos are pleading with their subscribers to bear with them. They say that there have been multiple submarine optic fiber cables disruption in the high seas. And the Speaker, we do not know the extent of the damage, but what we know is that we are all being frustrated. Even financial services, bank transactions, we can't do WhatsApp, we can't do Zoom meetings, Zoom conferences have all been disrupted. It's even a national security issue. And Mr. Speaker, I note from the business statement that fortunately for us, the Honorable Minister responsible for communications and digitalization is expected in this House on Monday, the 18th of March 2024, to answer 2 questions that are not related to this matter. So I want to appeal to you, if you can give a ruling that the Honorable Minister, when coming to respond to these questions, should come with a statement on this very important matter of national significance and what the government is doing to help restore normalcy so that we can have access to the internet and to our data services, so that we can be all encompassing, so that she doesn't come on Monday to answer other questions, and then we are now looking for another opportunity for the Minister for Communication to come respond to this very urgent matter. So if, Mr. Speaker, you can issue a ruling and the Business Committee, chaired by the Majority Leader, can liaise after your ruling with the Minister for Communications to come to this House on Monday and respond to this urgent matter. Mr. Speaker, that would really serve the people we represent here very, very well, because it's a matter that is really disturbing all Ghanaians, and we must be seen urgently responding to this issue.
I want to reiterate what my colleague Honorable Ablakwa said with regards to the Minister for Communication. The Speaker, sometimes is worried that our ministers are not being very proactive, because I thought that naturally, having woken up to the challenge of yesterday, the Minister for Communication will naturally come to this House as a matter of course to come and brief the nation what is happening. But this definite silence and the representative of people who don't know anything is giving room to all manner of speculations. Why is the internet down? What is happening? What is the challenge? And like my colleague Honorable Ablakwa rightly said, it's disrupting a lot of services and a lot of activities around the country. And for me, even the Monday was looking far, because this thing started yesterday in the morning like a joke. Then in the evening, it's like it was coming back. And up to now, it's not stable. Nobody knows what's happening. And the minister doesn't find it necessary to run to this House to brief the representative of the people for the country to know what is happening and giving some assurances. Mr. Speaker, it's worrying.
The next NDC government will, in addition, promote and nurture innovation hubs through public and private partnerships to harness technology to address Ghana's development challenges. Working with partners, we shall establish a $50 million FinTech Transformative Growth Fund to address the teething financial needs of Ghanaian-owned FinTechs. Under the policy, FinTech innovators will be groomed to be technology entrepreneurs, build businesses on their innovations, attract investment, and most of all, create jobs. A separate body of eminent persons would administer the fund per the standards of transparency, fairness, and equal opportunities and merit. That means the body is not going to be political. We're going to get respected group of trustees to manage the fund and consider how the fund is applied. We shall establish a framework for financial data exchange. Because we cannot promote digital innovations without access to data, we will remove the barriers to data access by providing a regulatory framework for sharing data without compromising privacy. Data is an essential resource in the digital age. Data is essential whether it is for user-centric product design or know your customer checks, customer due diligence, and investment advisory, digital credit, or even fraud management. And we said when we come into office, we'll scrap the e-levy. So that's our position has been consistent. We tried to prevent it from being laid. We did everything possible to prevent the e-levy from passing, but unfortunately it did pass. And when it was passed, we said when we come, we'll take it off. And so if we are to promote, the unbanked to come onto these platforms, you don't have to be punitive against them for using that. And it's not really achieving what it's meant to achieve, because most people are doing cash outs and then using cash to pay for whatever they have to pay in order to avoid the 1.5. Already the taxes on purchases are so high, and so if you are going to a supermarket and you have to, if you are using cash, you pay all those COVID levy, whatever levy. Then, because you're using a mobile money payment or a payment platform, you pay another 1.5% in addition to all the payments you're making. Then it defeats the purpose. It makes all of us go back into the cash economy. And so we're consistent with that position.
If you look at the level of disruption,
he has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people.
Good morning to you and welcome to today's edition of the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, live from the studios, the Dr. Osajifo Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan African Television. We are live on TV on Pan African Television. We are live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM, your power station. We're also live on many other affiliate stations across the country. We'll try as much as possible. I'll give you details as and when we go live on any of our social media platforms. You know the difficulty that we've had over the past 3 days. So we're currently on YouTube. I'm being told we are on YouTube, Pan African Television, and that's the platform we are using to stream this morning. Look for Pan African Television, and then you find us live on YouTube. So that's where you can watch us this morning. If you're able to go on Facebook, we'll let you know. We are still having difficulties with the internet and data services many days after this started. The National Communication Authority is telling us that they are working around the clock to resolve the issue, but as at now, it is still not stable. Occasionally, we get bits and pieces of it. Then it goes again, the connection goes and comes back, depending on which platform or network you are on. But thank you very much for choosing us. I'll share with you some of the stations you can get us on this morning, so you can listen to us live no matter where you are headed. I am Sena Nombo, and this morning I'm joining studio for today's discussion Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, who is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. We also have lawyer Apia Dankwa, who is a member of the Movement for Change. And then we'll be joined by Kojo Chumbuafo. Kojo Chumbuafo is a former Chief Executive of the Ghana Free Zone, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Free Zones Authority. And then Ama Pratt, of course, is General Manager here at Pan African Television. She's host of The Couch. That will be my panel for today. And this morning we're talking about the issue, aside the communications issue, we also have the issue of power. the fact that electricity supply is getting unreliable. In some places, their power is constantly off at a particular time of the day. There are people who even go 24 hours without power. The ECG has given its explanations. We also understand there has been admissions since that there are issues of generation. In fact, they said about 600 megawatts of power is currently off stream, meaning every day the electricity company of Ghana has to shed 600 megawatts of power or more. So many places are losing power. The ECG is also claiming there are places where they have issues with their transformers. Their transformers are overloaded. So in some cases, they have blown fuses, blown conductors. There are many issues that they need to deal with. So we're asking a question. Is our power sector on the verge of crisis? And how do we avert that? And then we'll talk about the conclusion of the debate on the State of the Nation's address. One thing actually took center stage of all the things that were said with about a minute or two comments that were made by the majority leader, the new one, Alexander Afenyo-Markins, of course, who, when criticizing Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman's choice for running mate of the NDC, he didn't talk about her track record. His only issue was the fact that she says the woman is old, and it speaks to NDC's poor succession plan. There have been heated reactions on the floor. There have been subsequent reactions to what he said. We'll talk about that, and then we would also then talk about the passage of John Kuma. John Kuma died. He was a deputy minister of finance as at the time he passed on. There's been a lot of talk of the fact that he was poisoned. There's been some autopsy reports published to indicate that he was not poisoned. And for the first time, a widow granted an interview a few days after her husband died to dismiss those claims. And there are many questions than answers. So we'll talk about the passing of John Kuma and the issues relating to exactly how he died. We'll conclude with growing calls for the seizure of the assault on Gaza. In fact, a few days ago, there were people who were trying to just get some food and water, and were fired into by Israeli forces, killing many of them. Even the U.S. has joined. The U.S. that has supported Israel throughout this assault has also joined calls for the seizure of the assault on Gaza. So we'll talk about that to conclude our conversation this morning. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. It's a matter of what talk shows Alhaji and Alhaji. Here we say it as a test, no matter who is involved in it. We'll leave you better educated. You can join us via WhatsApp or text message 055-991-9802. For those of you who are watching us on the screens, you can see it displayed there. Just send us a text message or WhatsApp message, and I'll share it as we go along in the show. Let's start with the issue of the power sector and what is seen as an impending crisis. And I'll start with Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, who is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Comrade, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to my brother and my lawyer. I told him I want to get into trouble and and ask him to defend me. This one there to be free. Exactly. And good morning to your cherished viewers, most importantly the good people of Tamale Central. And if you permit me, since this is the first time I've been here after the start of Ramadan, if you permit me to wish all brothers and sisters across the globe and the Muslim community in Ghana, and most importantly the Muslim community in northern Ghana and Tamale Central in specific, Ramadan Kareem. And also to reiterate that Muslims are not the only group of persons who fast. Fasting is obligatory for Muslims who are healthy and who have the capacity to, and I say healthy because if you have a terminal illness and fasting, and if fasting can affect your life, you are enjoined not to fast. You are supposed to feed someone who is in need, or a needy who cannot afford them, but who is fasting. Also, if you are aged, you know, certain people at certain ages, they can go hungry for some time. They are also enjoying not to fast, and then they can feed. A woman who is in her menses, a woman who is pregnant, and the pregnancy fasting can affect you. You are enjoying not to, but you pay back after you delivered. A woman in her menses, you pay back after the number of days you miss. A woman who is feeding a baby and fasting, which would affect the production of milk, you are also will pay back, you know. So those ones, but those who may not, kids who cannot. But we all learned. I started, you know, practicing how to fast at the age of 4, 5, and most of us, you do it, and then your mother will call and say, you break the fast and refast again. Sometimes they call you into the room and say, take this food or take this water. And then you insist that no, say you do it and refast again, just for you to learn. And like I said, Allah says that there are a lot of authorities in the Quran on the basis of fasting. But one thing that stands out is what Allah says in Surah Al-Imran, Quran chapter 2, verse 183. That ya ayyuhal lazina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala allazina min qablakum la'allakum tattaqun. O you, fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, so that you may attain piety. So it's a process that is supposed to uplift you spiritually and morally. Because if you go hungry from dawn to dusk, it teaches you a lesson. It teaches you to be compassionate. Because there are some people who live in perpetual fasting. There are some people who don't have any meal. So if you are that one who gets every meal you want, if you deny yourself food, water from dawn to dusk, it will help you to appreciate what some people go through. Your eyes must abstain from seeing certain things. Ears must abstain from listening to certain things. Mouth is not just to not eating and drinking. Abstain from saying certain things, vulgar words. And the expectation is that if you practice this for a whole month, you'll be able to continue with such virtues. And I think that that is just the rationale. So I wish every Muslim in Ghana, across the globe, because your station goes across the globe, and most importantly, the good people of Tamale Central, Ramadan Kareem. And it is a month of the Quran. The Quran was revealed in the month of Ramadan. So we are encouraged to read the Quran more and to give alms, but not to stop after the fasting ends, to continue with such good deeds. We have a challenge, and there is no denying the fact that there is a challenge as far as our power supply is concerned. The ECG must admit, and this government must admit, that the reason why we are having this doomsday is because of money. The ECG supplies us with power, and VRE. VRE does that in northern part of the country. ECG does that here. And VRE through NETCO also generates. There are some people who generate the power, and there are those who also distribute the power. Those who store and those who distribute. The final consumer, myself and you, get the power. Those of us in southern part of the country from ECG. I think those in the north get it from VRE. Now, this power that is generated, we used to use liquid, just natural liquid fuel for generation the power. If you look at the power capacity we have, we used to have Akosombo, and I think that it was the main source. At the time, what was the population of Ghana? And that is why I tell people that the vision Nkrumah had, I don't think we'll ever have a leader who would do that. Nkrumah was seen as someone who was aligned to the left ideological political view, but he got the Akosombo from the extreme right, that is America. So he didn't care whether America believed in the ideological position of his government or not. What was important was Ghana. He was looking at this state. If we need it and we can get it from the right wing, or if you like, extreme right political ideological position or political party, we need to access it, and that was what Nkrumah did. And beyond that, we have had some additions, and I can tell you, apart from Nkrumah, no government has added to our capacity generational need than the NDC government. I mean, the Boazi is there, the car power, and I remember Ameri, when we had these challenges and Ameri was brought on stream, there were a lot of concerns that were raised. Whatever the case is, we have had to increase the need of our capacity to produce the necessary power, considering the fact that we are not only increasing in size, we are industrializing. When I say industrializing, industries that we have today, we never had them. except those we had when they overthrew Nkrumah criminally and they collapsed those industries because they think that they were aligned to the so-called communist world. Now, Dumso, if you observed, we have had to experience Dumso apart from Nkrumah every 7 years or 5 years. I have gone through and I looked at the history of our experiences of intermittent power, which we describe as Dumso. Every successive government, either within 5 years or 7 years, would experience it. That is all the military leaders and the democracies that we have had. Many have forgotten that even under President Kufuor, they had to take pastors to go to Akosombo to pray. I mean, that is how ridiculous this country we have come, to pray to the dam, as if you can sit in your room and pray and God will answer. This was what happened. Under President Rawlings, we experienced some Dumso. Now, the unique thing about the Dumso that we experienced under President Mahama was because President Mahama didn't want to have this knee-jerk response to it. He felt that we needed to have a permanent solution to it. And the only way we could have that permanent solution is to increase our capacity to be able to produce more power. So, and you could not do that within a year or two because it involves money, it involves planning, it involves a lot of things. And for which reason we had to go through Dumso, and people even talked a lot about it. Whatever the case is, Dumso was solved before the 2016 elections. And I think from August 2016, we never experienced Dumso till we had the elections. So it baffles me sometimes when I listen to our friends in MPP and they argue that yes, you brought Dumso and then we solved it. When Dr. Bawumia himself admitted that yes, President Mahama solved Dumso and said that we could not be praising or giving him credit for a problem that he created. Perhaps he didn't know that people prayed. Anyway, I understand that time he was not an MPP person. So he couldn't have known that President Kufuor took pastors to go to the Akosombo Dam to pray for Dumso to go. So President Mahama felt that he didn't need to take a knee-jerk response at the displeasure of even some of his ministers. And I remember some of his ministers' position was that let's do as every government does. Let's find a solution to it immediately. And this thing wouldn't have lasted for a year. But he said no. He was intransigent, saying that we need to find a solution. And I remember when we went in for Ameri, one of the reasons why MPP won the elections was, apart from the propaganda and the lies they chained out, Ameri was used strongly. How we defrauded the state by bringing in Ameri. Unfortunately for them, when they came and they had the capacity to renegotiate a Ameri deal, they criminally, and I use this without any apology, criminally, with criminal mind and intent and executed, added over $800 million, not cedis, over $800 million to the Ameri deal. It took the vigilance of our members of parliament in the 7th parliament to detect that over $800 million was criminally added to the Ameri renegotiation deal. Now, assuming that members of parliament in the 7th parliament never took notice that that amount of money was taken, this $800 million would have ended up in someone's pocket. I filed a question in parliament because when they lost the debate over we solving Dumso, and they now agreed with the efficacy of some of the plans that we added, such as Ameri, they then said that it was overpriced, one, and two, we didn't need it. I remember I filed a question sometime last year, asking the Minister for Finance to come and explain to the people of this country how much we generated from the sale of what? Excess power to our neighbors. And the Minister for Finance answered to me and to the people of this country in Parliament was that we were making over $140 million every year from the sale of power to our neighbors. Over $140 million. What it therefore means is that the investment to increase our capacity, as President Mahama would vision it, indeed yielded some dividend, because $140 million you make as a result of selling excess power to our neighbors, could do a lot for this country. Now, if you multiply $140 million, let's just assume that it doesn't even increase. And it is very clear that it increases day by day. So even if you have $140 million for 7 years, don't even add this year, 7 years, that gives you how much? Because if you take 700 million, that would have given $700 million. You take 4 times 7, that will give you about how many? That's 24, right?
No, 28.
28. So that will give you almost $1 billion. That will give you almost $1 billion. And this is the amount of money. And these were not my words. This was the response given to me by the former Minister for Finance, Ken Oforiatta, that we were making $140 million. The question then is, how did they use that money, and what is that money? And the reason why I raise this issue, because everybody knows that the reason why we are experiencing Dumso has got nothing to do with anything except our inability to buy fuel, to buy the liquefied gas. Now, we have our own gas, but our gas are not transmitted through our own pipelines. The gas is transmitted through the West African gas pipeline. And before they transmit that gas through the West African gas pipeline, we have to pay. We are not able to pay. Nigeria is also saying that pay or take. Nigeria is saying that we will not transmit any gas to you, or won't give you any gas if you don't pay. So they used to give us gas, so as and when we get the money, then we'll pay. They are now saying that no, before we supply you with gas, you need to do what? To pay. So you also have independent power producers. The independent power producers, they are not Father Christmas. They provide you with what you need to be provided, and you need to do what? To pay. So it baffles me when I hear our friends in MPP argue that it has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with money. ECG is owing, is having indebtedness is about 1.5 billion. Now they themselves have publicly stated that they make losses of 34%. So it means that whatever money they generate at the end of the month, 100%, 34% would have been lost. So they are left with 66%. That 66%, they need to pay all these independent power producers, those who do the transmission. They need to pay NETCO. They are not able to pay. Why is ECG making losses? Clearly, it has to do with inefficiencies. I do know that there is a serious problem between the ECG boss and the Minister for Energy. There is a problem. And the president is aware of the problem. The vice president, who is now, the presidential candidate of the MPP, and by the way, who is the chairman of the economic management team or economic IT team, I don't know which one, how I describe it, is well aware. Yet they are unable to find a solution to that problem. So if they are unable to find a solution to that problem, why should we suffer as a result of their ineffectiveness, their incompetence? Why should we suffer as a result of their corruption? Because why? They used to have a portal where every money that they generate at ECG is put on that portal. And all those independent power producers that they are supposed to be paying money to NETCO, they draw from that particular portal. The question is, why did they stop putting money in there? Where is that money going? The argument is that the monies are being used for procurement. Procurement of what? Is it that they are redirecting the money from where it is supposed to be used to other areas for the purposes of winning an elections? These are million-dollar questions that are begging for answers. So I'm saying that the challenges that are confronting us as a result of this and the dooms we experience is absolutely born out of our inability to pay. The country is cash trapped. This country, only God knows. In fact, we do know that in some instances they have to even borrow money to pay. ECG staff, the day they used to receive their salaries have been changed because they are unable to pay the money. Is it the case that the minister wants the ECG boss to be directing monies to certain areas for the purposes of some weird ambition the minister has? These are million-dollar questions that are begging for answers. So I'm saying that clearly, we are experiencing Dumso. They now have a new term, the intermittent power supply. Dumso has always been intermittent power supply. To the extent that in Parliament, one of the most important arm of government, an institution of the state, we experienced Dumso. Ironically, the Dumso occurred when someone was talking about Dumso on the floor. We have had people, national service persons, at least 2 young ladies, who were in the lift when the Dumso occurred. And they were traumatized because they never experienced that. And the presumption is that we are in the lift and then the lift ceases to operate because there isn't light. What happens? We experienced this in Parliament. I have heard of colleagues who have argued that no, ECG came and disconnected Parliament lights. No. If they disconnect your lights, it won't come on and go off. If it was because Parliament was owing, for which reason ECG would come and disconnect our lights, it means that it should be off until they reconnect it. But they can't disconnect your light. Within 20 minutes, it came and then goes off again. Within 30 minutes, it comes and then goes off again. So that statement was not true. It has to do with government inability to pay. But the question is, aren't we paying for our power? As we sit today, when we had COVID, and then the president said he was given free electricity to some, power consumers. I never enjoyed it because you can't have an air condition in your house and we enjoy that free electricity, depending on the capacity, the amount of power you consumed. It was for a particular baseline consumers. Now, billions of dollars were borrowed. We borrowed over $3 billion from the IMF in the name of COVID. Over $300 million from the World Bank in the name of COVID. Got almost 300 million euro, eh?
More than that.
More than that. Yeah. Got almost 300 million euro from the European Union. We dipped our hands, criminally into the central bank. Extort, I don't say to take money. We extorted money from the central bank. Many other, 80 billion. Now, we have collected all these monies in the name of COVID. Now, you provided some baseline consumers of electricity with free electricity. Now, even those of us who never enjoyed that particular, free electricity, we are now being made to pay the COVID levy. And I have been asking this question. Senator, I have filed questions in Parliament inviting the Minister for Energy to come and Minister for Finance to come and explain to the people of this country that if you claim that you spend almost 500 million for the purposes of providing free electricity for Ghanaians, the COVID levy, so far, how much have you collected? We are still paying the COVID levy. Granted that those who didn't even benefit it are supposed to pay. As citizens, you must always take care of those who cannot afford. But we need to know how much they have collected so far. Assuming that we have paid more than they spent or allegedly spent on the free electricity for Ghanaians, wouldn't that amount to thievery? These questions, they are unwilling to answer the question. Yet they still have the temerity to go to town to say that when we had COVID, we provided you with free electricity. How can something be free when I'm now being made to pay for it? So I'm saying that all these monies, the ESLA, what was ESLA established? All these monies, for which reason President Mahama would vision established and said that we could use these monies when we are facing the kinds of challenges we are facing today. Where are those monies? What have they used those monies for? Yet we are experiencing them so. And you have people who describe themselves as neutrals because they are taking some crumbs somewhere, would sit on national television and say that you can't compare what we are experiencing today to what we experienced under the NDC. Dumso is Dumso. Whether Jonah swallowed the fish or the fish swallowed Jonah, there was a swallow. Because what we are experiencing today was the same thing we experienced. Did we ever live without lights? We were having this intermittent, power supply. It's the same thing. At least under the NDC, we never experienced that in Parliament. Under this government, we experienced that, and it's routine. Just yesterday, we had the same problems. So I'm saying that the earlier this government admits and put its acts together and deal with the situation. Look, sincere politicking is rewarding. If President Nanado and Dr. Bawumia will admit that yes, we have failed, we did politics with Dumso, we are experiencing it in a legendary fashion. The people of this country forgive us. I don't think that we will say we wouldn't forgive them. But that arrogant posture, that they will never take responsibility, where it is glaring that the problems we are facing in this country are occasioned by either the maladministration, ineffectiveness, inefficiency, crass and gross incompetence, and sometimes outright thievery. They are still arrogantly saying that it is not their fault. and attempting to push the blame on NDC. NDC, we've been out of power for almost 8 years now. You were voted to solve problems. You were not voted to lament over problems. And the problems we are experiencing today, we have never experienced that. So, Senna, the problems we are facing today are as a result of the country being cash-strapped, as a result of outright thievery, as a result of gross, crass incompetence. And the people of this country have an opportunity. And that opportunity is not to experience this again. And they can only do that by booting out this incompetent government in the next elections that will be happening on the 7th of December. Because if you listen to MPP apparatchiks, they are not talking of how they will break the economy. They are not concerned about how they will solve Dumso. They are not concerned about how they can provide adequate electricity. About 91 hospitals, we are told, in this country are going to be disconnected in the next 24 hours because they are unable to pay. They are only fixated about how they break the 8. Now, how would you be voting for a party that is disinterested in your well-being, your living conditions, except what they get? And I think people have the opportunity. And this elections 2024 is not an election just between NDC and MPP. It is an election between right and wrong. It is an election between determining the destiny of the people of this country and allowing us to fall through that slippery road of frustration, disaster. And they cannot have any better opportunity than now, more so when we have someone who has a proven record as the presidential candidate for the NDC, and a running mate who is embellished, clean, and for which reason you have the majority leader searching for something to tag her without finding one and shamelessly resorting to age.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you just join us, the Mother World Talk shows Alhaji and Alhaji. We're broadcasting live from the Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan-African Television. We are live on Pan-African Television. We are live on Radio Gold. We are live on several affiliates across, many affiliates across the country. Just a few messages. This one coming in from Tony from Kotobabi says, concerning Dumso, the government and its communicators, including the ECG boss, are just insulting us to our face by continually lying instead of admitting we are in a crisis. God will continue to expose their lies, this shameless and empty government. This is Tony from Kotobabi who is joining us. This one says the incompetence of the government in every sector is so legendary. The only solution to these self-inflicted problems we as Ghanaians impose on ourselves is to ensure that this man called driver mate does not sit behind the steering wheel. Abu send that, Abu. Thank you for that message. Hamza and Pig Farm says, good morning. Truth be told, this is what happens when leaders fail to take responsibility for their failures in their line of duties. It is simply when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Are you aware that the Ministry of Energy is quiet about the whole issue? And Kojo Poku from the Dr. Baumia team is doing the talking all round. Was Dumso created by President Mahama? The answer is no. President Mahama came to meet Dumso and he took responsibility to fix the problem. Unlike under President Kufuor, pastors were sent to Akosombo Dam to pray for rains to fall. My brother, come to Tamale and see what we're going through in the hands of this wicked government. The future of this country and that super incompetent and wicked government is pregnant and hopeless. The only thing that is working under this government is corruption. MPP never again. Hamza, thank you for that message. This one just came in from Adenta Sami. Send this from Adenta says, this MPP government is a disaster. Either they are out of ideas or they are tired and are just waiting for the next government in 2025 to come and solve all the numerous challenges Ghanaians are facing. Thank you for that message. Okay, this one is in early for a topic we haven't gotten to yet. This is Stephen Kwabenya says, visionary JDM brought Car Power 1 and 2, Ameri, etc. to build capacity for the energy sector. He then introduced ESLA to retire the legacy debt and to keep our lights on. But MPP said it was a nuisance tax and will abolish it when they take power. But Akufo-Addo and Baumia, his driver mate came to increase and collateralize ESLA, and we are back to Dumso. This is incompetence and cluelessness. MPP never again. Saving, thank you. This one says, liars can't be believed even when they tell the truth now. The dishonesty of this MPP government has to has got to its fullest. When Ghanaians are crying that there's doom, so you tell them that it's not true. You steal their money and tell them the country is broke. When they see black, you tell them that it's white. What a mistake to put this set in power. That's the mistake of the millennium. Never again. They are even telling us today that electricity is a privilege. How? So there's no more competent Ghanaians to manage strategic sectors like the energy sector. Abba, Zach Sender from Chifo, Praso. Let me come to lawyer. Good morning.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be in the company of. I know he doesn't like to go honorable. I mean, I'll call him honorable. He's a comrade, but he's also honorable. Pleasure to be in. I'm a presence. I've been meeting her. She has invited me to the couch from time to time. Hopefully, probably. If I didn't, I'll be wilder. No, I'm not one of the reasons. All of us are part of the reasons. All of us are cry. All of us. Accra. And to wish. And to wish your lovely viewers a good morning. It's very unfortunate that we would have to come and sit here on a beautiful Saturday morning and talk about Dumso once again. And it's quite disappointing when, especially when, after we haven't been bedeviled with this Dumso thing for some time now, I think for some months, because for me, I was practically in darkness during the Christmas period, and we are still experiencing darkness. And strangely, comes as the darkness comes at specific times. You understand? And then, for our president, who has information about this country more than anybody else, during his State of the Nation's address, to say emphatically to Ghanaians that there shall not be, as in there is no doom so. Then went on about the fact that they've reduced what's called some debts and all. It's sad. It's sad what we are going through, and I know my brother here wants to point, and he doesn't miss the opportunity to point accusing fingers at some of us, and he's doing so only because, unfortunately, we have a president. I don't want to use Jack to Toronto. Oh no, I want to explain. But unfortunately, we have a president. No, I'm not going to explain anything. Unfortunately, we have a president who has the propensity to lie like a child. You know, children have a way of lying. When we're in secondary school, as we all go to town, they catch you, and you always find interesting ways to lie. But we have a president, unfortunately, who has that propensity to lie like a child. Why am I saying this? I think some few days, as when we were in the heat of the whole haircut thing, the president came out. There shall not be haircut. And there was haircut. He said, I'll protect the public purse. And the purse is ajar. So they formed the energy sector recovery program. You know there's an energy sector recovery program which dictates that by now, by 2023, we shouldn't be experiencing the doomsday we are going through. So clearly, if there's something, or if there's one thing that this president has shown us, that he has absolutely no commitment to transforming the country. Because see, when you take this energy issue, to understand and appreciate it, then you need to understand the energy, what's it called, supply chain. So the energy is produced, then it needs to be transported, it needs to be sold, and collection certainly has to be made. So, you know, the doomsday we had in John Mama's time, it was because, you see, over the years we had amassed debts because of our inability to, let's say, payments in the production also in the transmission and in the collection of revenue from energy or from power that had been sold. So what John Mahama did was to open up the production side to private sector. So these Ameri and all those people came in to boost the production of electricity. And this government has criticized that process massively because as there's a claim that there was what's called the excess cap or the what's called take or pay. Yeah. You understand? There has been mass, and so even the focus of that argument, then really we shouldn't even be having done so, because we have excess. We are supposed to have excess capacity. You understand? In fact, if I'm angry, I say the foolishness of that argument, because really, where you say we are criticizing somebody for for supervising a situation where we have excess capacity, and as unfortunately, majority of Ghanaians are in darkness. So then, what's the logic of that argument? Now, beyond that, we formed ESLA was adopted. So that's the SS what's called Levy Act, which was supposed to levy, which was placed on petroleum products, and the whole idea was that we raise money to take care of the debt. Because essentially, like my brother here said, essentially the energy problems we've had throughout is a matter of financing. So the whole idea of the ESLA was to take care of the what we call legacy debt. And then again, that's the dishonesty with how politics are done. Because you say something is legacy, I mean that there is something that has been inherited from time to time. You understand? So if your focus is really in solving the problem and in creating a better Ghana, as in my view, should be the focus of all politicians. Then even how you make your arguments, how you levy blames and all, your focus should be in advancing arguments that ultimately will cause the country to be transformed. So if you say legacy debt, then it will be unfair for you to then place the blame on one person's head. But we all agree that there were some legacy debts. There were some legacy debts because there were issues with inability to pay for the electricity that has been transmitted. The legacy debt because of technical and commercial losses. Because what's got Gridco was formed during Kwame Nkrumah's time. Certainly, there will be issues with what's called the transmission, which will mean that we needed to invest in the transmission of energy. And there will be legacy debt also because for a very long time, MDAs, that's the ministries, departments, and agencies, have not been paying for the electricity. Because what happens is that electricity is produced and is sold. So they are supposed to generate revenue. The revenue generated should be able to pay for the electricity that has been produced. Now, who do they sell that energy to? The energy is not sold. It's sold not just to the private sector. It's also sold to government. Unfortunately, governments for a very long time had not been paying for the energy that was sold to them. So ESLA was brought in to generate revenue, so those legacy debts will be taken care of. Now, Nanado came into power, and in October they decided to use the ESLA as collateral to float some bonds to generate some funds that was supposed to pay those legacy debts, to more or less give us some clean slate. Then we practically create a new regime that will not take us back to the Dunso issue. You understand? Now, as part of the plan, they then decided to do what they called the Energy Sector Recovery Program. And the whole focus of that program was beyond having paid those legacy debts. Let's create a regime which will ensure that the reasons why the debts were accrued in the first place will be so that we will not come back to the situation that led us to do so under His Excellency John Mahama. That was the whole idea. Now, so they put together some experts and they identified the problems, or they claimed that they identified the issues. One, they identified that largely some of the issues, they said the IPP was an issue, as in that take or pay was an issue. They claimed that the gas thing that my brother was talking about was an issue because there's like the demand and supply thing, there was always some shortfall. They identified that there were technical and commercial issues. The technical issues being that You see, when let's say you produce 100 megawatts of energy, just by the transmission. So when Greenco, they are transmitting to the end users, about 30% is lost. So you go and buy 100 balls of kinky. I'm going to sell to Makra here. You understand? You have sold it to me. Said, listen, I know you don't have the system to be able to transport to Makra, but you don't care, and rightly so, because you are not working for Nyame. It is business. So I'm selling to you 100 balls of kinky. I'm taking the 100 balls of. I don't care that you are unable to give Accra those 100 balls of kinky. You understand? So already you lose 30% already, and then I go and sell 70 to Makra. I don't expect Makra to pay for 100 balls of kinky. So already there's some loss there. Then two, because of, for whatever reason, the ECG, or because of, like I say, they sell not just to the private sector, but they also sell to the public sector. Because right now, currently, it's prepaid. It's not postpaid. So all the people experiencing to, so majority of those of us in the private sector, we've already paid for those electricities. So they have the money. So it's not like in those days when it was postpaid and then they had to chase people. They already have the monies. Now the problem is, because the MDAs are not paying, and indeed per their reports, they are saying that they lose $180 million a year from lack of payments. That's the ECG every year. And out of that 180 million, 150 million of those are from the MDAs. 150, constituting over 80% of those entire loss are from government itself. Government's refusal to pay for energies that they consume. So they formed and came up with this beautiful, identified the problems. So you've got a medical doctor, he's identified the problems, and then they profess solutions. And I'm saying this so that you understand the dire lack of commitment by Nanado to solve any problem. So we ask ourselves this critical question: so why did he even want to be president in the first place? Yes, because and I say, sometimes we can forgive incompetence, but what we should never forgive is dishonesty. We should never forgive that. We can forgive somebody, genuinely, the person that doesn't know, and you understand. Even though yes, we have issues, at least you can because there's some kind of honesty, but we should never forgive dishonesty. So you see what is going on are issues that are well known and understood by the government. It's not like they don't understand. They understand. They've put together a very beautiful document, Energy Sector Recovery Program, which says that, or which understands that, listen, unless we solve or we make this sector, the energy sector, financially viable, and it will really become financially viable if the amount of revenue they generate from the sale of energy commensurates, at least commensurates, that's why they're able to break even, the amount of money they spend in generating and transmitting of those energies. They understand that, and they put in strategies which they felt that by 2023 the sector would reach that financial viability. They created some energy sector task force, and I'm sure they are spending money on all those people. And so it is scandalous that we've done all this. We come to 2024, you say by 2023 we should have achieved or attained that financial viability in the energy sector, and then we are in a situation where we are even worse off than in 2016 when we kicked John Dramani Mahama out, largely because we felt that he had caused doom. So right now, as we stand now, because when Nanado came to power in 2017, the debt was about 2.4 billion. Right now, I think the debt is more than 2.4 billion. Yeah, right now. When it comes to investment in those technical and commercial problems from which you identify to be the reasons why those problems were even created in the first place, nothing has been done to deal with those problems. Nothing.
At the time it was less than far less than 30%.
And nothing. There's no investment has gone into, so far as I'm concerned, we are concerned, because at the end, for me, the consumer, I don't want to know about the technical details of what you are doing, but what I expect is that I should have my electricity. So far as me, the consumer, so far as I'm concerned, I'm not having the electricity. And I'm not having the electricity because you, the government, you have failed to invest in solving the technical and commercial problems that you yourself identified as being the reasons why we are in the mess we are in right now. Unfortunately for government, and when I say government, I don't mean that, but for any government, because certainly it doesn't put them out. But certainly to live. Now, what's going to happen is that they were able to collateralize the ESLA to go and take bonds. They formed a trustee, you understand, and who are supposed to certainly pay those people who have used the collateral to pay off those. Now, right now, you've even taken us into a more financial mess than we were in. Unfortunately, because of also their own incompetence and even beyond incompetence, their own Machiavellian mind. You destroyed the economy too. So right now, that kind of goodwill that Ghana had. Because you see, when we went to HEPEC under Kufuor, we were able to go to HEPEC because we had goodwill. All the times when we had been to the IMF, we were able to do so because we had some goodwill. Right now, that goodwill is gone. And that goodwill is gone because of the haircut issue. So now, are you going to buy government of Ghana bonds? No. So beyond the mess that we are in, as in the mess they've created within that sector, it's more difficult for us to leverage on any goodwill, any bonds, to find money to now deal with these issues now. Clearly, we have a president, or we have a group of people whose commitment, whose focus is to take power, but they are not interested in giving real leadership. They are not interested in giving real leadership. It's all about Machiavellianism. Let's tell them something that will sustain us in power. Because clearly, after 7 years, after 8 years, almost all the indices, all the things you said, as being the reasons why you wanted the power to lead the country, almost all of them, you've managed to drive the country into a worse state that we were in before you came to power. And then you go quietly. You are telling us that your last job is to ensure that the person, I'm saying that the president lies like a child. What is man? Google is even saying that he's the biggest liar in Ghana. So the two of them and their cohorts, they lie like children. It's so easy. It's so easy. I heard one MP say that Ghana has not defaulted on their bonds, on their loans. I think over the last week, I heard one MP say that Ghana has not defaulted on their and I'm like, what are we getting to? So right now, the party, as the people in government, they're like a bunch of children who don't mind to lie. They lie. They eat with which they lie. But they're ready to do anything to sustain them in power. That's the new spirit, the familiar spirit that's taken over the MPP. That Machiavellian spirit. Yeah, because right now their focus is all about how do we get power. And 2 days ago, I spoke with somebody in the MPP. Now listen, we have a responsibility to our country to ensure that one, we get the right people into power. And this, my friend said, look, me, I serve the party. They said, I serve the party. And so they asked him, so are you ready to choose your party over your country? For me, that's what 2024 is about. Because you listen to political actors, majority of them, and they seem not to realize that the reason why they are doing politics, that the reason why their political parties were formed in the first place was because of Ghana. And so under no circumstance should you choose your political party, especially where the party has defeated from its commitments to the development of this country. That when the Constitution says that you must defend the Constitution of Ghana, It does not only mean that when somebody has, what's it called, taking a gun to attempt to overthrow the constitution, then we must defend it. When we say you must defend the constitution of Ghana, in that you must defend the purpose for which the constitution itself was formed in the first place. You must defend Ghana's potential to grow. You must defend Ghana's ambition to bring about an overall prosperity for its people. You must defend the need for Ghana to be able to deliver excellent healthcare. You must be prepared to defend the ability of Ghana to develop excellent education, so that if anybody, whether the person is in your party or not, is delivering a leadership that is destroying the country, then you have an obligation as a Ghanaian to ensure that that person is not given the opportunity again to lead. And that's what this 2024 election is all about. This 2024 election is an opportunity being given to Ghanaians to sound a loud signal. Not just to this MPP, to Bawumia and his friends. However, Bawumia, they can become president. If there's, I heard some people, when I go around trying to convince people to join the movement for Gen to support Anche Martin, then they ask me, oh, we like Alan, but we think the only vote that will be a waste in 2024 election will be a vote for Dr. Bawumia, because he said he will become president of Ghana. That will be the vote that will be a waste. So if your concern is you don't want to waste your vote, then don't vote for, then don't even think about voting for Dr. Bawumia, because he will lose. You lose emphatically. In fact, you lose with my brother Solo was talking about 12%. But you are vice president. You form your campaign team. You form your manifesto team. And then you hear somebody, what's his name, the musician. Is an man, but I don't want to be part of the manifesto. Then Mama Accra, Company comes and is like, oh, but they've put his name there as an advisor. And Company quickly comes and says, but nobody informed me, but I have some questions for Bawumia. If I meet Dr. Bawumia, I ask him, why do you want to be president? If after being vice president, after being deputy governor, somebody like Company who you want to, or you claim is part of your campaign, is asking you, or wants to ask you, why do you want to be president? Then he's essentially saying that you've not demonstrated, you've not shown any special trait, special quality that can enable you to lead our country. So you have a candidate who, because of the monumental failure, is trying to leverage on the back of certain people he thinks have the goodwill of Ghanaians to pull a fast one on us. Because he's not afraid to lie. I'm telling you, he lies like a 3-year-old child. You know, 3-year-olds don't lie. I'm saying he lies like a teenager. You know, when you go to school, I remember my senior brother, that's the one after, he wasn't. Why, but children lie?
When children lie, it's part of their formative
process.
Yeah. These people are sociopaths. They are not children.
No. You see, you don't get me. You see, when children lie, it's because, I don't know how to put it, but and that's why I say he lies like a child. No, but you see,
yes, exactly.
I'm saying that they lie
to avoid the wrath of their parents. These people are not interested in avoiding the wrath of their parents. They're interested in stealing.
And that's why I said they lie like children. They lie like children because their purpose is the same reason why children lie. You understand? That's their purpose. The purpose is the same. The purpose for which they lie is the same purpose for which children lie. You understand? But we can forgive children, but these are not children. But they like. So I'm not saying they are children, but they lie like children. See, to cut a long story short, I think we have more than too many evidence to show that the MPP as it is today have lost focus on the reason why they even formed or why they became a political party. They do not understand their ultimate responsibility to the people of Ghana. And we can see that in the choices they make. Because if they did, having made that monumental mistake in choosing Nana Akufo-Addo, they would not have repeated that mistake by choosing the legendary the legendary liar to be their presidential candidate. I'm so fortified in my mind that not only do they not have the solutions to our problem, but they want to give us something worse. They want to take the power. They want to take power and not give raw leadership. And in 2024, we should send a loud signal to them, but most importantly, to posterity, that Ghanaians will not sit down for any group of people to drive our destiny into the ditch like they are trying. And that in 2024, we will rise up against them. In 2024, we will tell the whole world that really we are very much committed to the principles of freedom and justice. And that Ghana, the black star of Africa, is ready to rise and shine again. And we'll do so, one, by kicking them out, and two, by making Alan John Kojo Chamanten the president of Ghana.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before I come to Engineer Chumbwa for number 2, but he's number 2. There's a number 1, so yeah, so he's number 2. let me just say a big thank you to Shine FM in Akachi 96.9, Hills FM in Adaklo 91.7, Nuwasi Radio in Ketekrachi on 89.7, Stella Radio Dabala on 97.1, Diamond FM in Tamale on 93.7, Bewa Radio in Yendi on 106.5, Radio Kita in Saboba on 95.7 FM, Benya FM, Elmina 105.7, Global FM 105.1 in Ho, Zeps FM is on 95.9 in Zebila, True FM on 92.5 in Ade, Solamara FM 89.1 in Tripoli, Buem 88.7 FM in Jasikan, Lukusi is on 96.1, they are in Vergolo Kwati, Tyne FM 90.9, Sekpele 104.3 in Likpe Todome, then Akpini Radio in Pandoe. Good morning to all of them, and thank you very much for joining us via any of those platforms. Engineer?
Good morning once again to the beautiful Amma Pratt, who is a carbon copy of my big brother, so she doesn't need any GA address for you to know her stock. My brother and my former boss, Murtala Mohammed, who is one of the reasons why we were so successful at Reasons. I don't thank him often enough, but now is a good time to thank him. As for my young fellow Accra and fellow Liverpoolian, fellow Anfield, fanatic, I have forgiven him for his transgression of 2016 because I warned him.
I'm not a transgender.
His transgression, but because he's my younger brother, I can forgive him.
Yeah.
But when you tell a child that fire looks beautiful, but don't touch it, and he goes to touch it, and the fingers are bent, you don't cut off the fingers. You both just put some balm on the fingers, and you hope that's a lesson learned. So to my young brother Accra, next time I talk to you, listen, I told you these people, they were my relatives. I told you they were thieves. You asked the question, why did Nana Addo come to power? He came to power because he wanted to steal for his generation. That is what, and that's what he has succeeded in doing. Right from the beginning, right from the day he swore the oath of office, he lied. Remember, they stole phrases from American presidents, and he chanted them as if he was in one of Men's Outer Services. Remember, he chanted them in certain jurisdictions. That alone, as soon as it had been found on that day, he would have been forced to resign. Yes, that was the day the deception began. So you people were deceived into voting for him. You were deceived on the very day he came into power. And the sociopathic tendencies, the deception has continued till today. Right? The power problem that we have, as has been eloquently mentioned already, didn't begin with President Mahama. prior to 2015, what happened? When you have a president who goes to stand in parliament and says that, okay, I'm taking responsibility for this problem, even though I didn't begin it, I'm going to resolve it. I'm taking ownership of it because I'm here now. Because of tribalism and ethnocentrism, and I keep saying it, as for me, I'm an Ekwapi man. I know what my people do. Right? So somebody should come and tell me that what I'm saying is false. John Mahama suffered because of ethnocentrism. What else? You are a tree-speaking person, Agra. You know what they say. You know their discussions. You know the derogatory name that we trees people call Ewes. Right? You know it. I don't want to say it. John Mahama suffered because of ethnocentrism. Hello, I'm saying it. Somebody should come and challenge me. If he was called Opoku Mensa, would we have put a Dumso on his head? We have done that. My brother, when President Mahama was president, the reason why we had Dumso was a capacity problem. Because over the ages, our electricity installations have not expanded with the population size. There was no planning. So when President Mahama took ownership of it, he decided to create that capacity. And these people managed to use ethnocentrism. Mutala, you mentioned whether there was a Jonah swallow the whale or the whale swallow Jonah, there was a swallow. You didn't mention that in the Sea of Nineveh there was ethnocentrism. So that is what both the fish and Jonah were swimming in. Right? When John Mahama took ownership of the problem, he promised to solve it, and within a year he had actually resolved it. In between having the likes of Yvonne Nelson and Isankuma and co carrying Patash from Legon to Circle and saying that there was Dumso, John Mahama had solved the problem before we left office. But at that time, it was too late. But Ghanaians know that in 1984, 40 years ago, there was Dumso. You see, it's cyclical because of the rains. One of the reasons why Chachuchi Kata paid a price with his freedom was his vision for how our power should be diversified to take care of this cyclical issue. It's one of the reasons why he went to prison. And today you have the CEO of GMPC asking to get $1,000 per diem a night to go and sleep in a hotel, and asking for 2 Land Cruisers, but we'll get there. After that problem was solved and this criminal lot came to power, right? They claim and made an argument that we had capacity we didn't need, so that was our fault. This is a government that came to power and said 1 district, 1 factory. So why didn't you use the excess capacity in those false and fallacious districts and factories and the cesspits that you claim were irrigation projects? Why didn't you use the excess power? Instead, they sought to quote-unquote renegotiate the agreement for one of the power badges, and they sought to steal $800 million. When they were caught, a test letter came out and they said the president was misled. Mutala, you're a member of parliament. In this country, somebody signs the president's letters. Lawyer Meboa. And we all know the person who signed the letter. And you must even give it. So if you say the president was misled, who misled the president? Anama me boa. Yenyina ye ni mo nipa ko or sign the president letter. Who signed that letter? We had a test signed by another person. Eugene, who said the president was misled. Misled by who? Right? Then we were in this country when we heard Gabi Ochedaku's voice distributing ECG, right? Like Bonya biscuit shares, they're distributing it. Up to today, he has not come out to say it wasn't his voice. Remember that? When ECG was changed into PDS, their vehicles, their logo, their letterheads, the headquarters, the branding, it costs money, didn't it cost money? Those revenues that went to that short-lived thievery is still somewhere. Where's the money? ECG said they don't have money to pay their debts. Where's the money? Where's the money? Because we are all aware that Keno Foreta, the then Minister of Finance, now Minister for Money Laundering, wrote a letter to the CID. All that I'm saying is public. It's not hidden. I'm not conjecturing anything. He said that there was a fraud perpetrated on this country during that transaction. Why have the CID not found the culprits? Because the people who bought it, they're all around. I can mention their names. Those shares, the people who were in the share list that Gabi Ochedaku mentioned, they're all around. None of them is dead. None of them has absconded the country. They're all around. Why has the CID not arrested anybody? Why haven't they arrested anybody? If the guarantee, you see, ECG is the biggest public entity we have in this country. At last count, worth some 25 billion Ghana cedis. Somebody is about to steal the biggest public entity in this country by false pretenses. Even the guarantee that they claim they bought from, is it Qatar or wherever the hell they bought that guarantee from, the insurance company wrote to Ghanaians, they made it public that they had nothing to do with it. That it was forged. That an officer of that entity, that insurance company, did it off their own free will, and they have nothing to do with it as an insurance company. And up to now, the police haven't arrested anybody. Lawyer, yes, won't you be part of my defense team? If it was Murtala who did it, like Murtala not being in Yendi prison, chilling with his people. As for me, they would have put me in Ankafo because they say I'm not correct. But I'm saying that I am recounting. You see, I've told you they are sociopaths. Apart from being criminals, they are sociopaths. I'm recounting. And oftentimes, Ghanaians don't wrap their heads around some of these things that are going on. Okay? And it behoves on some of us to come out and point it out, so that if you sleep at night and you think about the things that these people are doing, at least you roll it around in your mind and say, what is going on? Over the last 6 years, you can check, we have spent almost $600 million as a nation, supposedly making ECG better. What has happened? Nothing. As I speak to you now, they have come out and they're telling us that we are putting up 430,000 new meters in Accra West. You've all read that, haven't you? And they've told you the meters are free. You know that's a lie, right? Because within your electricity bill, for those of us who do prepaid, there's something called service charge. So when the service charge goes up, you will not know. Now part 1A of the problem is go and find out how the procurement for those 430,000 meters were done. And you will find out that it is sole sourced. You know why? Because that money will be billed to you and I, And some of the proceeds will go towards Baumia's campaign. You see what I'm saying? And they should come out and dispute it. ECG should come out and tell us that they will not put the cost of those meters on our service charges. They should tell us. And you know, when it comes to the service charges, they just reprogram the meter. You won't even know that they've increased it. Right? Okay. Now let's go to some of the bills that need to be paid. Before, you guys have spoken about ESLA. I'll touch on ESLA briefly. But you know, there's something called cash waterfall mechanism that is used to pay the IPPs. Let me read some of the figures to you. They owed 307 million cedis to some of the IPPs, VRA, BUI, BXC, Solar, Mine Energy, blah, 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 blah. VRA, they pay them dash. No payment. Out of 28,946 cedis, expected payment, they didn't pay anything. They haven't paid anything at all. BUI, out of 50,479,000, they paid 20 million. Mine Energy, they paid nothing. BXC Solar, nothing. Safisana, nothing. Early Power, nothing. GMPC service charge, they paid 40 million. GMPC, Ghana Gas, they paid 30 million. The regulatory levy, which was, they paid 10 million. GMPC, they owed 74 million, they paid 40. GMPC, Ghana Gas, they owed 43 million, they paid 30. Even the regulatory money that's supposed to go to PYC, they've taken it. They haven't paid anything on for Ministry of Energy, and in fact, so in total they have paid 162 million cedis out of 307 million that they owed, and they owe 146 million. That's the term sheet that I have. Now let me tell you something under the cash waterfall mechanism. Do you know where it is operated from? Do you know? The Vice President's office. Dr. Bawumia is in charge of the cash waterfall mechanism. Instead of digitalizing that one to make sure that as soon as he hits the account, he goes, he's digitalizing toilets. Right? Bawumia. That's what he's doing. So if you want to measure his own purported prowess in digitalization, ask him why the cash waterfall mechanism has not gone to where it needs to go, and why the IPPs are threatening to stop operation. You said when we were in power, we were owing about 2.4 billion. As I speak to you, they owe about 9 billion. About 9 billion. When John Mahama did, when President Mahama, because he will be president again very soon, when President Mahama did ESLA, what did Kenufriata come out and say? Nuisance tax. We call it nuisance tax. As soon as the nuisance tax man came to power, he collateralized the ESLA, collected money till 2035. And you know what he used to do with the money? Do you know what he used to do with that money? He used it to pay pensions. So, you see, these people act like they have a brain disease called misapplication. Right? We have legacy debts. Legacy debts, and those legacy debts were created since Georgesburg to today. Somebody came and created ESLA, energy sector, whatever. Right? You called it names. You came to power. You've collateralized it till 2035. You've collected the money and you've misapplied it. How does electricity money go and pay pensions? Explain that one to me. And Dr. Bawumia is sitting there. He hasn't said anything. And he wants to be president. And he tells you that he is a mate. So all he does is Kanish. When he gets to Fadama last stop, they let out all the passengers and rinse and repeat. How does this character get to have 4 more years plus to superintend the dross that he has already superintended? Today, as we sit here, we not only have doomsaw with electricity, we have doomsaw with internet. Am I lying? No. The intelligence of Dr. Baumia never went to advising this government as our security to create our own backbone, whether it was by satellite or by our own subsea cable, so that in times like this, right, we will not lose money. Do you have any idea how much businesses have lost since Monday? Instead, we have spent 195 million cedis on all Africa games. And we have about 6 or 7 medals for the 195 million we have spent. So you divide it. How much the medal cost us? We are spending $250 million on building a new headquarters for Bank of Ghana. An organization that has presided over upwards of 80 billion cedis of illegally printed money. And when we said it, the governor of Bank of Ghana said we are hooligans. That governor, Dr. Addison, should he have a new office? Shouldn't he be operating from a tent? Like when you are going to look for your passport, when you are going to get a passport, you see the people sit in a tent. Isn't that where he should be sitting? Given what he has presided over. He has enough to call us hooligans. So on the advent of an NDC government, we will see which of us is a hooligan. When we call him to come and account for his stewardship, like most of us were asked to do, I was investigated for 2.5 years. He will come and tell us how he printed that 80 billion, so whether he used the printer in his room or whether he went to Assemblies of God Press or Advent Press to go and print that 80 billion cedis that they willingly spent. I won't even go into the COVID money which they stole. They stole the money. None of that went into making our lives better. We've also given $58 million to David Ajayi to design the most expensive chasm in the history of chasms. That hole that sits there, which is called the National Cathedral. We have paid $58 million for a hole. Right? Even the renowned physicists, nuclear physicists who deal in black holes and chasms, Professor Stephen Hawking and co, will be marveled at the fact that a country paid 58 million cedis to build a hole. Right? That hole was superintended by a man with 2 names. To the glory of God, we had a man with 2 names supervising the hole. So, in the event that God decides that it's Armageddon time and he's coming into the hole, who is the addressable superintendent of that project? Who is he going to call? Is he going to call Kuti Boateng or is he going to call Edu Jemfi? Which of them is he going to call? So add up what I've told you. Add it up. During the time we were in power, one of their sing songs were that we wasted money on projects. Not so. Case in point, Ridge Hospital. It was one of Akufo-Addo's campaign platforms when he mounted the soapbox. Is the Ridge Hospital not there? UGMC. Is the UGMC not there? When they die, where do they die? Haven't they stopped dying at Kolebu? Haven't they stopped dying at Kolebu? Today, when they die, where do they die? Look, I'm not kidding you. Today, if you are ill today and you need specialist treatment at UGMC, you will be in the theater. They will come and remove you and tell you that some minister is sick. These are the same people who said UGMC and Rich Hospital were overpriced. But at least it's there. In their case, the overpriced things are not there. She knew nothing. You gave $58 million of our money under false pretenses. You didn't seek approval from Parliament, and Murtala correct me if I'm wrong, because you're a member of Parliament. You didn't seek approval from Parliament. They went around it in a very corrupt way and said they were using monies from a contingency fund that was allocated to the presidency to pay for somebody's vision. You had an apparition. You saw a devil who called himself God, and you told the person that you will build a cathedral to his name when you win. After you won, you use public money. Now, in your interaction with that spirit, did you tell the spirit that you are going to use our taxpayers' money? Did you tell the spirit that? Even that spirit would have told you, David. Because even the evil spirits know that this country, we are an overtaxed species in this country. I listed the taxes that we pay, the taxes that these people have added onto our tax regime. When I got somewhere, the Senate said I should stop because I was taking too much time. So I'm still at number 17. If you like, I'll go on. You know, these people are not serious. As you ride around Accra today, you will see them in their motorcycle, in their motorcades. 3 policemen, with an empty car. In the name of All Africa Games. We have won 7 medals for 195 million. We are in Doomso, we are in internet Doomso. Nothing is going on. Right? Right now, when you go to the bank to go and collect your money, they have to phone the headquarters. With you see the phone that they dial like this before you know whether you have money, because their communication systems are not working. And we as a country should have thought about an alternative, because this should bring us home the fact that our banking systems are owned by foreigners. Our internet system are owned by foreigners. We have no security as a country. That is the reason why when they want to remove a government, they can easily remove a government. Is there anybody who actually believes that 5 subsea cables coming into the country, all of them can go off at the same time?
Please wrap up for me.
Sorry?
Wrap up for me, please.
Sorry?
Wrap up for me, please.
Yes, I will wrap up.
Yeah.
Do you believe that they all went up for the same time, at the same time, for no reason? You know, I will stop here, because if you can do a tea-fatto, you can do a tea-fatto and invite us. We'll come and sit here. We'll apply for the world record for talking about thieves, and we will get the record. Just make sure you invite me. I will tell you about the members of my family. The 65 of them in government. I'll talk about one of them, each one after the other. I'll tell you what they have been doing. Because this country has been reduced. We have been reduced to a kleptocracy. That's what we've been reduced to. And they don't care. Look around you. Look at the government lands that are going. RR flats, gone. Mental hospital. They even stole the mental hospital. Even mental hospital, they've stolen it. Ridge Park, Children's Park, they've stolen it. AC Sutherland, they've stolen it. There is a school in this country. I don't want to mention the name of the school. Even that school's car park, and if you know, you know. The school's car park has been stolen. And you know what? Some of them, their children go to that school. I don't want to mention the school. I said the school's car park has been sold. And when you are going for your children, when you are going for your children, I said I don't want to mention names. I said the school's car park. So when you are going for your children, where are you going to park? But they've stolen it. They've sold the school car park. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. It doesn't stop. The only way it stops is if Ghanaians boot them out of power. And when Ghanaians boot them out of power, they will come and account for what they have done. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the Matter of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live on Pan-African Television, we are live on radio, Go. Just a few messages and I'll come to Ama. This one is from, is it Tombawa A. Charles, Doma Hinkro, in the Bono region. It says, in life, if one thinks one holds monopoly over knowledge and wisdom, the end of such presumption is shame and disgrace. What is happening now under this regime is not far from that shame and disgrace. We're still fresh and very much alive in the minds and memories of Ghanaians. How this batch of noisemakers compose songs and use all kinds of disdaining and derogatory languages just to paint former President Mahama black and to render him unpopular in the face of the world. Nature does not sleep. Senna, thank you very much for that message. This one says, I want to know whether Ghana is still a middle-income country. As far as I know, still, yes, on a lower middle-income country. This is Evans Dinko Ingaro, who says, do you remember the Minister of State, Rambo Kobna Donko, exemplary, resigned for promising a timeline to fix Dumso, even though he fulfilled that promise? The genuineness and transparent manner NDC treated Ghanaians was the cause of their defeat in the 2016 election. Thank you for the message. Let me read a few more, then I'll come to Ahmad. This says, please, NDC must, if they haven't done that, get all documents on their excesses. And there's also, these people are not far from burning all records by setting fires to most of state institutions. We can get records to prosecute them. That's Alexander Bayon who said that. Thank you for the message. Zach in Chuvipoaso says, I'm sad to be a Ghanaian. I'm 73 and seen governments come and go. But this one, dear, and said, yes, our energy sector is in insurmountable crisis because round pegs are placed in round holes. Party sycophants are placed in positions which no good leadership will make mistakes to trade with. People like the MPP have toyed with and continue to destroy the country which others have diligently built over the years. Their lies and dishonesty have exposed them. Their arrogance and lack of values have already been thrown out of power. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Madam?
Before you go, let me tell you something from Richard. The communication director of the MPP said we should take politics out of them. So, please proceed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, as at now, there are some things we know for a fact. There are some facts that have been, espoused and have been confirmed. And one of such facts would be this fact about capacity. Every player, as far as electricity generation in Ghana is concerned, has confirmed that capacity cannot be the reason why we are here. The ECG boss himself has said it. Former President John Mahama has confirmed it. He said, when I was leaving office, I had made sure that capacity could not be a problem. So that we know for a fact that what we are dealing with today has nothing to do with capacity.
Okay.
What we are being told is that there's, issue of load. And forgive me if I don't sound as right as I should, because we are all learning, from all the things that are being thrown at us. That is about load and how some transformers can take some load, and we don't have buffers, and so then we have to shed. Right? This is what we are being told. Now, mind you, originally we were told that there was some technical difficulties, some technicalities, and that was what was happening. Pushed further, the explanation that has come has to do with transformers and no buffers and listen, all I care about as a Ghanaian, as a consumer of the product, is that when I turn my lights on, it comes on. I don't care what constitutes or what causes my not having electricity. Which is what surprises me about this thing about this is not Dumso because it is not about capacity. What I thought Dumso was just the fact that Dum Naso. No? Did Dumso have anything to do with the reason why the light is off and the reason why the light is on? Please educate me. Because I remember clearly that time when we were all experiencing Dumso. And this time when we are experiencing Dumso. Unless somebody tells me that now when my light goes off, it doesn't exactly go off. I don't know. Then you can explain to me why what I'm experiencing today is not Dumso. Perhaps then the light went all the way off. And today the light goes off to a certain degree. I mean, what are we saying? This is Dumso. That's it. Whether it's caused by capacity, whether it's caused by the lack of buffers, whether it's caused by the lack of... You understand what I'm saying? I'm experiencing Dumso. And so for ECG to insist that we will not give a timetable because what you're experiencing is not Dumso, then I don't know what to say. That's where I get confused. So now, this week, there's been mornings where, because my mom is home, there's been mornings where you call her in the morning, she says, oh, the light just went off. And the light will be off for, say, 4 hours. As soon as you get, in fact, just as you're about entering the house, the light goes off again. So sometimes 12, a.m., sometimes 1 a.m. And you see, perhaps we don't understand the importance of electricity. Sometimes it feels as though, and please, this is in no means me saying that the effect on individual lives is more than production and commerce. That's not what I'm saying. That, I think the point has been made. Everybody here has brilliantly spoken about that. But I'm looking at the life of every Ghanaian at home, just livelihood. And the fact that when there's no electricity, you can't even sleep. Look at how hot it's been these past couple of weeks. Somebody has, one of my friends says, we've gone and used the ozone layer for loan. That we've gone and, used the ozone layer as capital for some loan, which is why we are suffering like this.
Last night at 10 p.m., it was 82 degrees.
My goodness.
Tamale is worse, and particularly in this month of Ramadan.
The
northern part of the country is terrible.
It's unbelievably hot. And this is the time. You see, normally when people ask the question about John Mahama and why people felt the way they felt about him, and I've heard, my big brother speak about the fact that it had to do with ethnocentrism. I mean, I have no reason to question or doubt anything he says, but I remember clearly those days and the sentiments of the Ghanaian around Dumso. I dare say that sometimes it's how you feel, your inability to articulate that feeling. It's just a bad feeling you had at a time that stays with you. I don't know if anybody understands what I'm saying.
I hear you, sister.
So, in the moments, and we all know, on hindsight, we know that the man did his best. Today, as we sit here, Ghanaians know better. But in the moment, at that time, all we cared about was, give us electricity. And so our feeling then was just that of, I don't like how I'm feeling. Who is president? Him. Let's not play the ostrich around these issues. It's about how I feel. It's not about the road. It's not about the schools. It's about when I'm in the house, am I comfortable? I'm hot. I'm feeling exasperated. I'm feeling frustrated. Now, here we are again. Now that we know that he did his best, and posterity is always the judge, the best judge. Here we are. Now you, the one who gave us campaign promises after campaign promises, and eloquently diagnose the problem, actually misdiagnose the problem. Here we are. Now show working. Here we are. Now you want to tell us that what we are experiencing is not doom. So how is that a solution to the problem? The name. Can I please be Shakespearean now? Shakespeare says, a rose called by any other name would smell as sweet. Dumso called by any other name is terrible. Okay, let's not call it Dumso. Give me another name. Let's call it something else. It's terrible. That's all we are saying. As Ghanaians, as consumers of electricity, as people who live in this country and should live and flourish and live. Listen, we don't have money. The country is broke. We appreciate that. There's mismanagement. We appreciate that. But can we please just exist peacefully? After we have struggled in a system that is not systeming to find some money to go and pay prepaid for electricity, can we please enjoy our lack of money in peace? We don't have money. The system is hard. But can we please just have some fun so we can sleep? At least. This is what Ghanaians are saying. And the inability and the tone deafness of this administration to appreciate that and deal with it, well, I can't even say it's shocking. Not in these times. After every shocking thing we've been through, I can't even use the word shocking. At this point, there's nothing really that is shocking. But the point is that I hope that they understand that Dumso, like I was saying, to a large extent, is what affected the fortunes of the NDC. Actually, what am I saying? I don't think there's anything that can be worse for the NPP at this time. What haven't we experienced under this administration? So perhaps what I should be saying is that the extent to which they are digging, that now becomes the cause of concern for us, the citizens. Today, our Muslim brothers and sisters are fasting. We know what fruits in these times would mean, right? We know how being able to keep something in the fridge from when you need it would mean. And all these power outages and the effect it has on electricity appliances. As I was coming this morning, I had to mop the floor consistently because I've never even experienced this before. I know that it's the fridge that can leak. I didn't know that the deep freezer could leak. You understand what I'm saying?
Given enough time, everything is possible.
It's ridiculous. So all appliances in this Ekufuado, Ghana, where there's no money. Come on, please. I really beg of the ECG CEO, the boss, if it's possible, he should stop granting interviews. Because it seems as though the more he talks, exactly, the more annoying it gets. He should, please, we beg him. My understanding of citizenship is that once I play my role and I do what is expected of me, once I execute my responsibilities, there are some rights that are owed me. You can't turn that on its head today because of your mismanagement. That is unacceptable. Electricity, power, I think at the very least, that is owed us. At the very least. Thank you, Sena.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you were talking about capacity. Somebody said recently that perhaps the ECG boss should know his place in the chain, that he can only speak for distribution. He can't speak for generation or transmission.
And that is where the problem is coming from.
Yeah.
The generation and transmission.
If you were left, if your fairy godfather came and gave you ECG, will you make 34% losses? 34%.
You can't recover.
So efficiency, for those of us engineers, we can tell you efficiency is defined by input over output. So you do it and tell me how efficient ECG is.
Well, and talking about capacity, we learned a lot. Doomso teaches you. So when a crisis happens, when you're a journalist, you start to learn a lot. In fact, we learned a lot that capacity, when you're looking at the power chain, there's transmission capacity, there's generation capacity, distribution capacity, and now the problem they say is financial capacity. So there are different capacities involved that are playing out. You never know where the problem is. So we're having a discussion on this, and so far, thank you very much for your contributions. This is Kwame Sedem, Martin Kwame Sedem in Soviet, who says, please, where is the energy minister? In the midst of this energy crisis, he has gone completely incommunicado.
He's busy getting married to campaign for vice president.
Instead of coming out to explain issues to us, he's going around lobbying to become a running mate. This is the result you get when you put square pegs in round holes. That's Kwame said them in Soviet. This Alhaji had in Pig Farm, who says, we the good people of Ghana will be very funny to elect Dr. Bawumia as our president comes 7 December 2024. Dr. Bawumia has what it takes to be president. He should have used it to help his boss Nanado. What difference will he bring? He should use his knowledge to help solve the economic problems we are facing. Nanado as a driver couldn't take us to our destination, then don't expect anything good from Dr. Bawumia, his mates. And says good morning to Alhaji Inusa 37. I don't know whether it's the same Alhaji Inusa for saying that. Okay, Alhaji Inusa 37. Okay, those are some of the messages. Let me see if I can do a few more from our text message and WhatsApp platform. Okay, this one says, if there's no doomsaw as said by the MPP, then should I believe that they are switching the lights off for the purpose of debt management? This is because the ECG Power app was counting even when they disconnected me for 17 hours, and I'm going to pay definitely. Gabriel sent that from home. This one says, 2, the doomsaw is the only problem we have according to Electricity Company of Ghana, because our food in the fridges are getting spoiled. Like I bought meat 2 days ago. My meat is spoiled. Why doomsaw? I want to say a cup of tea that is doomsaw is eating. Okay, I think you should please take your time and write the message to help me very much. I don't have the pleasure of going through all the messages because there's so much coming in. This one says, every single thing MPP accused Mahama of has come back to haunt them multiple times. Unfortunately, they refuse to learn their lesson. 2012, President Akufo-Addo tweeted, if the light goes off and comes back on, it's doomsaw. I confirm it's also killing them. Dijo in Tema sent that one. This one says, this government is more wicked than I thought. So sad to be a Ghanaian. There's this one from Kofi Holy in Cape Coast who says, because MPP sloganeer everything, they wanted to give slogan doomsaw as one light off, one light on. Well, these are some of the messages you're sending to us.
The All Africa Games, I never knew we won just that few number of medals. I'm told the food preparation alone, they gave it to someone closer. In fact, the wife is someone closer to the president at $60 million.
Okay.
And Bas Brandon, and that's one issue we'll be visiting very soon. They spend almost 50 million on branding the buses that
the vehicles that they're using.
Yes.
I see. We have to take a break. When we'll come back, we'll be going to Parliament to discuss one subject that came out of the State of the Nations. That's the choice of Professor Nana Jinopoko-Agyemang as running mate to former President John Dramani Mahama. The choice made by the National Democratic Congress. I would have loved to start with Ama, but Ama just concluded. So what I will do is I'll go to Parliament with Honorable Mutala. You can call him Honorable Mutala. Yes. He's Honorable Mutala. He's Honorable Member of Parliament for Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. Yes. So we'll take a break. When we'll come back, we'll discuss that.
People into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer.
The next NDC government will in addition promote and nurture innovation hubs through public and private partnerships to harness technology to address Ghana's development challenges. Working with partners, we shall establish a $50 million Fintech Transformative Growth Fund to address the teething financial needs of Ghanaian-owned fintechs. Under the policy, fintech innovators will be groomed to be technology entrepreneurs, build businesses on their innovations, attract investment, and create jobs. A separate body of eminent persons would administer the fund per the standards of transparency, fairness, and equal opportunities and merit. That means the body is not going to be political. We're going to get a respected group of trustees to manage the fund and consider how the fund is applied. We shall establish a framework for financial data exchange. Because we cannot promote digital innovations without access to data, we will remove the barriers to data access by providing a regulatory framework for sharing data without compromising privacy. Data is an essential resource in the digital age. Data is essential whether it is for user-centric product design or know your customer checks, customer due diligence, and investment advisory, digital credit, or even fraud management.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Well, welcome back from that break. And this is the Mother World Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, and we are live from the Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan-African Television. And of course, we are live on Pan-African Television. We are live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube, Pan-African Television. Look for it. You can watch us live. We are also live on Radio Gold. We have to discuss the issue I highlighted before we went on break. The decision of former President Mahama to choose Professor Nana Jinopokwa Agyeman was commented on by the majority leader. Now, this time around, he chose to talk about age, the age of the lady, and says that shows that the NDC had a poor succession plan and should not be trusted with power and everything. I start from Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time very fast, so you have 10 minutes on this. This issue was actually raised in Parliament. They raised issues with it. Immediately you were saying it. Comrade?
Well, Senator, the President, as part of his constitutional responsibility, delivered the State of the Nation's address. And after the State of the Nation's address is delivered, you then have at least 2 days for which members are allowed to debate the statement made by the President in Parliament. So we all had the opportunity to have debated. It was then left with the concluding statements or debates. Usually, other members are done, those who talk on the economy, those who talk on good governance, those who talk on in that order. So you have members from both sides. The day the conclusion was supposed to be done, and the concluding debate is done by the minority leader and the majority leader. So Honorable Atu Forsen came and made his concluding statement on the State of the Nation's address. And he specifically spoke on specific issues and raised issues that cannot be debated, issues that cannot be challenged. So Honorable Afenyo Markins, who came with a written speech to be delivered, was completely rattled. He was so confused. So when he came, he decided to ignore his prepared speech, which he was supposed to deliver as his support of the State of the Nation's address. And in an attempt to respond to the things Honorable Atu Forsen did, started to engage in that embarrassing and shameless, pedestal. So he was rattled. So if you observed, those of you who watch it from home, you realize he was holding a pack of papers and he was not speaking to the statement he came with. He wanted to respond to the things Honorable Atu Forsen said. Honorable Atu Forsen asked basic questions. The President, having appeared before Parliament, lied to the people of this country. And I agree with you when you said we have never had a President who lied in such a legendary fashion. The President talked about the fact that they have created more jobs than any government did, yet unemployment is escalating. The President talked about how they have indeed stabilized the economy and stabilized the city Yet the facts on the ground points to the opposite, because you cannot be creating jobs when unemployment is escalating. As a matter of fact, when the time the president was talking about the fact that they have created more jobs than any other government, the Ghana Statistical Service had reported that unemployment was around 14.7%. And in 2016, when the NDC was leaving office, unemployment was around 6.8%. So you cannot take 6.8% and now you are talking about 14.7%, yet you claim that you are creating more jobs than any other government. Now, he also talked about the monies they have borrowed and what they have actually used the monies for, that you could not have traces. Now, when Honorable Afenyo-Markins came to speak, ideally, it is good sometimes you can respond to some of the few things that, or jabs that are given by either the minority leader or the majority leader, depending on which side you are speaking from. He abandoned what he was supposed to do, and I guess it was in an attempt to impress the president and the MPP, because he's just a new majority leader who came through coup. Everybody knows that he ascended to the leadership of the MPP in parliament through coup. In fact, this one we call it palace coup, because at that time Che wasn't happy. And you observe even the first deputy speaker, the response they gave to that intended, coup that happened. Now, for me, my perspective about the embarrassing thing he did was that he was looking for something to smear the distinguished former, Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, the distinguished former Minister for Education, who indeed has actually left a mark at the Ministry of Education, left a mark in academia. He was trying desperately to find something to tag the woman. And since he could not find anything, he instead went on her age. Ironically, the president is older than the running mate for the NDC. As a matter of fact, in the 2020 elections, the age at which President Nana Addo contested the 2020 elections was far higher than the age this woman is having now. So he decided to go after the age of Prof. And that was when we said we were not going to allow that to stand. And mind you, it was the second deputy speaker who was, chairing the affairs of parliament at the time. And his view was that we should allow that to pass. And we said no. Once we allowed that to pass, it was going to be recorded in the Hansard. And such reckless and irresponsible statement must not be tolerated. The irony and the hypocrisy in this country. The so-called gender activists have been in a complete state of incommunicado. If this thing had been done by an NDC MP against any woman, I am telling you, you would have heard or seen them holding press conferences, playing and flagging this gender card. And we have seen that many times. In fact, on that same day, the Deputy Minister for Justice and Attorney General, who came there to work on a bill that is brought by government through the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General. And Honorable Defia Mokwa and some of our colleagues, we protested that we would not allow her to do the work she came to do, because we felt that the Minister for Justice and Attorney General himself was supposed to be there. You had Honorable Adjo Asafo and the female MPs in MPP in Parliament at that time said that we were saying that the woman should not be allowed to do what she was supposed to do because she's a woman. On that same day, in less than 20 to 30 minutes, Honorable Afenyo-Markins did the things she did and nobody said anything. So my issue has to do with the hypocrisy. And to be very honest, anytime anything, may God forbid, happens against any woman and those bunch of hypocrites come, we would attack them. We will respond to them in a manner that they will never be comfortable, because after all, every woman must be treated equally. If you feel that a woman should not be disrespected, a woman should not be tagged, more so a woman who has contributed tremendously, not just to politics, to academia, taught students, some of whom are now not only lecturers, some of them are managing institutions in this country. A woman who had indeed been a minister for education and contributed significantly. And the success story of what she did at the Ministry of Education is telling, is there for everybody to see. Such a woman is attacked using her age, and we haven't had a single condemnation from this woman. For me, that is profoundly telling. So, frankly speaking, it tells everybody the kinds of people who wants us to give them the mandate again in the 2024 elections. The focus is not about finding solutions to the myriad of problems that we are confronted with. The focus is just about getting power. That is the reason. What has age got to? Is there any age limit as far as contesting to be elected as a running mate or as a vice president of any political party in this country? Is it that the woman is incapacitated? No. She is of tremendous sound mind, very healthy, and I believe sometimes stronger. As a psychology student, we have different kinds and types of ages. We have a chronological age, we have a psychological age, we have educational age, we have social age. So chronological, she may be older, but I believe both psychological, educational, and reasonably, she's younger than Afenyo Markins, because she won't conduct herself in a manner that my good friend did. She won't do that. Now, if you think that her age is a problem, then perhaps President Nana Addo must resign. If you think that there should be age limit for you to be a president or a vice president of any political country, then President Nana Addo must resign. So I think that for me it was embarrassing, it was distasteful, and for me I think that my sister Ama Pratt will be the best person to comment on this. I saw that to be an attack of womanhood. I saw that to be an attack on the female gender, attack on people who have contributed tremendously to this country. And I was expecting those pretentious gender activists in this country to have spoken strongly and demand that the gentleman apologize. So our demand was that he retracted that irresponsible and reckless statement and apologized to the people of this country and the woman. Unfortunately, he only retracted, there wasn't any apology, and the second deputy speaker allowed proceedings to continue. And that was the reason why we had to suspend sitting for over an hour, because he was still arrogantly saying he wasn't going to retract that. And we said, if we are not going to retract that, then we're not going to have the proceedings of Parliament, taking place. And I think that was what happened in Parliament on that day.
Thank you. Ama.
I'll start from the part where he refuses to apologize and say that I've always held the view that as the people who vote, we need to know the people we vote for on principle, on integrity, on who they are. And I felt that the process, the politicking process we have in Ghana doesn't afford us the opportunity to assess individuals for who they are so we can vote for them. We don't get opportunities of debate to hear them, speak on specific issues so we can assess them. We don't get opportunity to go back in the past and know people's position on specific issues so we can assess them and vote for them. However, every now and then, people give us an opportunity, they themselves serve themselves to us on a silver platter, and we then know them for who they are, and we keep it at the back of our heads. And for me, that is what Afenyo Markin has done. He has shown us who he is. He has told us with his own mouth his position on gender. Because let nobody kid around. The only reason why our president's age has never been an issue and will never be an issue is because he's male. When Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman was named as the running mate, the uproar, the joy, the excitement that greeted, that announcement was because we could see in her that woman who couldn't be criticized and played with the way every other woman whose name has come up has been, toyed with. And here, allow me to mention a few. If you don't call, we literally called her a witch. I sat in my house, in my living room, and watched an interview of a woman interviewing her and asking her, who you be for? Right? Now, look at the personality of Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. take the things that make her a woman away and make her a man. She's competent. She's qualified. By any stretch of imagination, by any standard. Any standard. This is a woman that has been trailblazing from since. Now we have this woman, and even her, you have personalities like Afenyo Markin, managing, and I'm using the word managing to find fault, to ridicule her. Even a woman like Professor Jaina Opoku-Agyeman. Who should we bring? Which woman should we bring again? Somebody from the skies? Should we go and bring an angel? What should we do as Ghanaian women to finally show that we are here? If we can have Professor Jaina Opoku-Agyeman, even Professor Jaina Opoku-Agyeman being ridiculed in Parliament, then which other woman should we go and bring? Please tell me. Who should we bring? Who? Listen, I have to say that feminist organizations stop everybody's time, actually. You say what? She's what did he even say? That she didn't add to the tickets or whatever. Listen, me, I say it everywhere. Everybody who went to school with me, from nursery, primary school, university, every university I've been to, my math is not the best. The facts are facts. Figures, numbers don't lie. In fact, I have seen signs, data that suggests that she has been the most successful in terms of the numbers in the central region for the NDC. Take it as far back as you want to take it. Go and look at the numbers. Afenyo Markin, free homework for you. Let's take that aside. You speak about the fact that in, the ministry, she didn't do too well. She didn't complete E-blocks. Well, for me, just the fact that you mentioned her name and mentioned E-blocks, the construction of E-blocks in one sentence, you've made the point for me. Because I traveled with her last year campaign, and we went round it, and there were places we got to that the convoy would stop. The vice chancellors we have today in Ghana. She opened that door. She shattered that glass ceiling. And God be our helper. She is going to shatter the next one, which is be the first female vice president of this country. Because, Sena, haven't we come far enough that